gives me the opportunity to hear the music and then imagine the situation in my head. Like when you see a music video, or sometimes it's a tool. Music videos should be tools to explain what can't be explained in the listener's mind naturally. But certain songs are better suited without it because no video can do that specific. I don't need to hear. So like Stevie Wonder. How many Stevie Wonder videos have you ever seen? I can't even really recall it. Like they used to be like
That was
slideshows. Like,
he just threw the
you know,
ball
he
up in the
could.
air.
You know what I mean? Like,
Right,
no,
because
bro.
they would have said how many he could see. But no, that's deep that you said that. That's true.
Yeah, so a lot. It's the same thing when I'm at home or I'm in my own zone. It's like now I get to really ingest this. It's like after a concert or after I do something or after I have a great night, I'm usually looking forward to, okay, I'm gonna go back home, smoke a blunt, and think about what just happened, and then you can really think about it and have that laugh. Like, damn, this is really happening. Oh my God, I'm this fucking person on earth. So yeah, like, yes, I mean, some people need validation. Some people seek to be able to connect with people and validate themselves externally. Like we're all mirrors of each other. Like basically, it's almost like if you strip it down, it's almost like we're humans waking up and we're like, hey, bro, are we here? Wait, you see the sun too, right? Wait, this is air, right? Oh my God. That's like basically the summation of all of our conversation. Is like we're trying to cross validate everything that we think with each other at all times. You know what I mean? That's what I'm doing right now. I'm saying all this shit because I'm hoping you guys think the same way. You know what I mean? It's like, oh shit, okay, I'm not crazy. So yeah.
Yeah, man. Dang. Deepest part of, I mean, it's like what you just said, because when we having these conversations like that, it's like when you stop talking is when the mind turns on. It goes on, but even in that little process, like you said, in between, it's like once the person, like the part of the movie that there's no dialogue,
Right.
is when you start to work or
Right.
build off of everything. Just going back to what you're saying with dreaming in real time, you know what I'm saying? And the mind starts to um, grow on that. What you say about that? Come on, let's go. Open up these doors.
Let's say that one more time, bro.
I was saying that it was the time when you stop talking, the dialogue. It's when your mind starts to expand because you create the rest of the story. The person that's listening has got to he becomes involved in the story that you're telling or the world that you're telling, and they kind of engage in that, and their minds start to expand in that, in the silence. And that's the sound of the silent. What do you say about that part? You
I
know?
had a line. I said sometimes the silence is really louder than the noise. The silence. That's why we count in seconds, because the first is this assumed silence. That's the zero before you get to the seconds. The silence is what makes music music. Other than that, it would just be a continuous note. It would just be like, "Bah." It's the silence that defines the noise. There is noise would be nullified. Like we would just eventually, it's like that ringing in your head that's probably always there, but our mind ignores it. That's what music would be. It's the silence that defines the sound. The music, it's like if the whole world was water, there would be no distinction of anything other than water. You wouldn't even know it was water. It's like oxygen. It's like we're so saturated by it, we don't even notice it's there. But
So,
yeah, silence is that's why they say silence is golden. Silence is the only way to truly hear the truth. The thing. It's like as soon as it gets silence, that's when the voice inside becomes so loud, you might be convinced other people hear it. You know what I mean? So
it's
yeah, like the silence is the first before the second. You know what I mean? It is. That is God. That is dark matter. That is the Antichrist. Antichrist is silence. It's the if light, if you have light, then you have darkness. If you have sound, then you have silence. It's essentially Taoism. It's the emptiness is what creates the picture. Like if there has to be a canvas, there has to be, you know, the darkness of space is what makes everything else stand out.
And you're good with. I was gonna say that silence is like the vehicle to sound. So sound would be the driver, and the vehicle itself is the silence. And you're kind of and you're good with putting words together, like your etymology of like you said something about science. You were saying see, yeah.
So essentially, just like PSY,
right?
Or psi is always psi. It's always mine. You know what I mean? And then essence is obviously like the essence, like so the essence or the meat of it. You know what I mean? It's like yes, that's what science is. Like the etymology. Like so, there's a literal technical etymology that comes from figuring out the prefix and suffix, the root words, where it originally came from, the Latin,
Love it. Right.
The Latin source, the Germanic, English, where it came from. Essentially, like the way that it's all pure from the observation of the word itself, and not just the way it's spelled or the characters of the letters that it's spelled with, but also the sound of it. And then like its opposite. You have to look at it backwards, front, and then you realize that like these letters, just like numbers, are symbols that have these meanings. It's all either a line or a circle. Even when you look at like your stove, like a digital timer or something like that, you see that it's 4/8. It's 4/8, and you can make every number. You can make every number from the 8. You can make the 1, the 9, the 0. Everything you can make it from the 8, which is essentially invisible. The infinity sign. So God is in 8. It's innate. It's 8. That's why the 8 is infinite. It's it's the torus field. It's the circle twisted. So it's the whole of God being twisted and divided. And that to make its other, it's a reflection of itself to define itself, and that's in 8. It's in 8, so that's why when you see the digital displays, it just works. Even on a calculator, you can even spell basic words. You can get almost every letter out of there too, because the letters that you can't get out of that box on top of a box, you can make the letter using its pieces. Like a W is 4 ones leaning on top of each other. A W is also an M. A W is also a 3. A W is also an E. So you're seeing that all the parts, the constituent pieces of the word come from these same. It's like either a line and then that has the meaning of what it is. So when you see the letter O, you always like I was saying last night, or. Anytime you see or, it's direct correlation with ore is the actual stone, the mineral to which you yield gold from or other metallics. The gold ore. And so aura is A-U-Ra. So aura, it sounds like ore, right? So but it's spelled with A-U, which is the elemental symbol for gold, A-U. So and then Ra, so aura, and that's sun, that's God, that's light. So it literally means gold light, and it sounds like aura.
That's also where we get the word audio, because AU would be gold and Dio would be Dios, like God.
Yeah, that's God.
Audio.
All like when they say radiation, it's radiation. That's like a general blanket term. All light, all bands of frequency. That's why it's called a radio. It's all light. So sound, basically, the light is ever present. Every bandwidth of light is here. You're just tuning your radio to get on that light, because information travels through light. So you're just tuning your radio and you're using the metal to get it, and you're literally tuning into that bandwidth of light, and that's all forms. So all this 5G, radio, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, all of that is just a different band of radiation light on the same spectrum. It's all on the same spectrum. It's like, oh, that's just light. And this is what light sounds like. Oh, okay, yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, it's in the etymology directly with every word that's properly named. And I say that because like even in slang, like the sound of it, even if it's not properly named, you can still pull meaning out of it. Like one of my favorite ones to tell people the power is the word mother or mother, right? Or mother. And why is it the mother? Because it creates the mother, Mary, creates the Lamb of God. And it's the mother because lamb produces lanolin, which wool attracts the moth. So the mother creates the Lamb of God, which creates the wool that attracts the moth. So it's a mother. I create that which attracts the moth. Also, the Lamb of God, if you take that B and you flip it to a P, it's the lamp of God, right? Or the light of God, the lamp of God. And what do lights do? They attract moths. So either way you flip it, it's the mother or the mother, because the moon, right? Everything about the woman, the moon, like it's literally the sound of a cow. Everything, the Bible, it's the bull, it's the cow. Like, so a lot of the etymology was based off of cattle, livestock, like stock. It was literally considered the money, cattle. Anything with cat refers to catch. That's why a cat is a cat, because it catches. So cattle is your caught, so literally the livestock, the bull, the Torah, which is the Taurus, which is, so all of that's related to the bull. So that's the masculine form. But when you look at the feminine form, the moon, you got the 28 cycle, the moon, they call it the moon cycle, where she goes through her, they call it the period, and that's why they say it moves. Everything that you hear like that moves, Muslim, everything like music, it
Move.
Mooney, Mooney, like it has direct correlation to what you're really tuning into.
It's
It's
amusement.
Amusement, yeah, exactly. All of that, like, anything that has ability or able. So I'm capable, able, stable, humble. So if you're humble, you're a humming bull because you're not loud. You're humble. You're being humbled. It's a stable because the bull stays.
Now you're talking about Cain and Abel.
Cain and Abel. Yeah,
You were
exactly.
able to do things, and he was the good guy.
And it's the shepherd's staff in the bull. It's literally a cane in a bull. Or two-ball cane is two-bull cane. It's two-ball cane also in reference to the testicles and the penis. So ball and bull are synonymous. So it's this, and that's where Bill, all of that stuff comes from. Billy Goat, Bully, Billy is the same thing. It's essentially in reference to the male
Denizen.
force, the energy, the male energy. It's either, all words are either masculine or feminine, and they all have direct correlation. A lot of language comes from describing agriculture. And then a lot of it comes from, so the reason why it has etymological connections around the world is because most of the things on earth are the same where you go. They're kind of the same. So we're describing trees, water, the same air, the same this. So if we're basing the words off of descriptions because we're trying to explain it to somebody what we see, we might explain it with the sound of it. We might explain it with the shape of it, the color of it. We might. So a lot of the words directly correlate with
Hey, you getting fresh with me, punk?
Nature. So you're able to figure that out, where and they're both either esoteric or terrestrial, earthly. Both have, the spiritual language tends to be, where you get like radio or radio, where you're talking about the invisible nature of the world. That's where those kind of etymological sources comes from. But then you got like Cain and Abel, Billy, all of those words. are based on Earth, and I mean it's to me, once you see it, you can't unsee it. It becomes like the Jim Carrey movie 23, number 23. Eventually,
I'm a
like, you
killer.
reading every license plate, you reading every sign, you trying to find the hidden, all of that. Like that's. I was on shrooms and I was like, why do they call it bark? Because it's rough bark. Like, okay, damn, that's easy.
Park gets rough. Oh man, dogma. Right. Yeah, man.
But just
Sure.
say I'm God. So
the
dogma
hell you
backwards,
want, Mark?
I'm God. You know what I mean? Like all of it is like.
That's true. The star Sirius is a dog star.
Going back
Yeah.
to Anubis.
No.
Anubis.
No, that's the That's that goes back to the Dogons, man. You know,
The Dogon.
I mean, that's where they say that the Anunnaki came from. You know?
Uh,
Somewhere over there. That goes,
Dogon. You said Dogon.
it's a Dogon mapping tool
My,
because they said that they were able to map the stars without using like, you know.
see, when that makes sense, yeah. See, when you say that and it makes sense and it draw up, that's when you in there. When it all lines like that and it makes sense. At the same time, Dogon mapping tool and being DMT and that's a mind thing. You know what I mean? It all lines up.
And they literally were doing Ebola like that, but like you got to think these people had a much more clear mind. So they didn't have as many. They weren't as visually tainted as our minds are because we've seen so many movies and we've seen so many external images that it's harder for us to believe what we see inside because we don't know where the source is. But those people that have a much stronger belief, when they trip and they're on psychedelics, everything that they see, you got to think if they've never seen geometrics, art on Instagram. Like we see artists actually depicting that stuff. These people, Amazon rainforest, the natives, they're able to see this stuff for the first time without knowing where it came from. It's like, so yeah, like that's where all of that stuff came from. Like, it's like I hate it when people question the potential ingenuity of man. Have you ever seen a spider spin a web? It's a perfect geometric shape that they're able to make without ever seeing it. Their body is in such rhythmic synchronicity with nature that all they know how to do are sacred symbols because that's all the information that's in them. It's the innate wiring. That's why all the animals have that innate GPS, the 100 monkey theory. Once one gets an upgrade, the rest of them get it worldwide instantly. It's like, okay, they updated the system. Now all the birds know not to go this way. It's like, oh, okay.
We got to read this super chat right now because it came right from the person next to me. Go ahead, you can ask me questions.
Wait, how'd you do that?
I don't see that happen, man.
Please, good brother. Yes, I just wanted to ask you. Can you describe your favorite visuals on DMT? Like, if you think back, what was your favorite thing you saw visually on DMT?
So it's like when I'm telling people about my psychedelic trips, man, it's kind of like, imagine if you're walking, and you see a UFO by yourself. Nobody was there to experience it with you. It almost loses its value because even though you know how magical that was by yourself, for you to be able to experience it with the validation of somebody else saying, "Yo, we really did that."
Right.
That makes it okay. Yes.
Right.
Cool. So when I'm very careful about who I tell my psychedelic trips to because often they're so insane that there's no way it's not gonna sound like I lie.
Right.
But I remember one in particular where I went into this space and it was black checkerboard. This is on DMT.
Right.
Let me let it pass. That's why you see the sound had to come and interrupt that. They're like, don't say it.
Right,
Don't tell them. They don't want this.
Right.
But black checkerboard pattern, and there was a silhouette of a being that it had the same pattern on its but it was like moving so majestically, and it was just moving closer to me, and all of a sudden it presented me with this gold cube, and inside of it was something red. I don't know if it was heart. I don't know what it was in the center of it, but it seemed like the golden box was made of language and symbols. And I describe it as the Ark of the, like, this is where the concept of the Ark of the Covenant. It's almost like it presented me with this gift of language.
Wow.
And that was one that I had. Also, I did a trip in New Orleans under the blood moon. It was April 16th, April 14th. No, it was April 4th. It was April 4th. It was the same night that Plies got slammed off the stage. I was in New Orleans. I was with a group of friends. I was already on acid, and then I also brought extra. I waited till everybody went to sleep, and I brought like 5 grams of mushrooms, and I had some weed that I saved. So I waited till everybody was nestled. I took the shrooms on top of this. This LSD is already some of the most powerful LSD in the world. Like I'm on Bourbon Street, like that's not a good place to do LSD. Like I'm not able to be enjoying this experience because you see the demon coming over everybody. You feel like you're in Sodom and Gomorrah. But so I waited till everyone slept. I took the 5 grams. I went into the backyard, into the darkness. We're in the Airbnb, so there's like a fenced-in backyard. And I went into the darkness so I could smoke and just kind of breathe. Because I like to start off on the toilet and excavate myself. Especially while the drugs are coming up, while the shrooms and it's all coming in. Because if it hits while you're excavating, it kind of alleviates the nausea. And it really hits when you're doing that, when your body's going through the process of shit. Like that's a crazy experience, you know what I mean? So like when you experience that on shrooms, like you're able to go, like you're able to really relax. And then after that, I went outside to the backyard. And everything's scary when you're tripping balls. When you're really balls, you forget what it's like to be a normal human. You forget that, it's just a regular day, there's regular people outside, it's only 9 o'clock, it's only 10 o'clock, everything's fine, it's just a normal day. No, everything gets alive. The crickets, the cicadas, everything is, whoa, you hear the home of earth. It's like, so I'm in the backyard and I get overwhelmed with fear. Something tells me to go to the darkest part of the yard. So I went to the corner of the yard and it said, close your eyes and don't be scared. No matter what you see, just don't be scared. Just keep your eyes closed the whole time. And the whole time I felt the entities around me. And I just stayed strong, kept my eyes closed, breathe, I'm okay. Nothing can hurt. And that was like a rites of passage. When I finally came to, I immediately did I started walking in these measured steps straight to the front of the house. Grabbed the chair, walked out, put the chair in the middle of the street, and I didn't even know it was a blood moon. So I'm sitting in front of the house. Everybody's in the house. I look up at the blood moon, and then the clouds just separate. And then immediately I start feeling like bugs going past my ears. So I go like this, and I put my head down, and everything just transforms. And all I see is just like, or at that moment, I understand all math. I understand all, I have like the mind of God at that point, you know what I mean? And then I see myself laying in the grass, and my body just dies, like, in the grass, and it just like, I see myself decay real fast. And then, I end up, after I had this crazy trip, and at that point, I think I'm Christ. So I walked back with the chair, but I walked backwards in the exact steps to where I got the chair and placed it exactly where it was. Then I went into the house, but when I went to open the door, it was a loop. So I see myself open the door maybe 10 times.
Oh shit!
Got in the house. I'm standing at the door, my boy Los is at the bed. He's on the couch. And my boy Eddie, shout out Eddie. He's actually the one who he's the chief of DMT. Eddie Deuce. He sees me. He's like, "Yo, bro," because they did a little acid, but they were not. I'm the only person there that's tripping balls. They did some acid. But they were still coming down. I'm at the door. He's like, "Yo, bro, it's all right." Yeah. You know, I'm in my state.
Hold up. Is that and then you took the mushrooms?
No, I'm already on.
I'm just kidding.
But at that point, like somehow that I saw myself. I went over to where Los was. I felt like I could hear him breathe. But then all of a sudden, like I felt myself rise, and then I fell. I fell apparently directly on my face, and I went into like a seizure. And when I went into in real life, like I went into a seizure, and I just saw the Alpha and Omega happening a million times. Like the beginning of time and the end of time just happening just repetitively, like, and I'm feeling like, yo, like I keep going through this loop. I keep coming back as me. I'm going through this infinite loop. I keep failing. I have to break the chain somewhere. And it was just that. I mean, I've had some really wild.
Sounds kind of scary.
That's just some of them, but I mean, there's something going on. Like psychedelics were put in my path for a reason. There's some places that I'm able to go, or that if I were to bring back even a portion of it, it wouldn't be fair to the rest of the humans. It would ruin the experience. Like you can't tell me in the movie. That's why it's like bringing home water from the beach. The things you see in here, for the most part, you're not allowed to bring back. I don't think you're allowed to even, because it's at that moment you know. You know exactly. You know what death is. You know what God is. You know everything about nature. You know all of that stuff. Yeah. But your mind cannot maintain that in this state. It's like your heart rate goes down. All of a sudden you're off that channel and you're back here and it's like, all right, now I got it.
You're back on the alpha frequency.
Yeah.
Because you're in a theta frequency apparently at certain hertz existing in that level, and then once you come back down, you're into alpha, and all that stuff goes away. But like they talk about having a dream journal. Do you ever write stuff down immediately when you wake up?
No, I've never done that, man. I've never done that. Usually, what I do, my process is I try to sleep until completion. Meaning I try to just sleep until I can't, unless I have to get up and do something. I sleep until I can't sleep no more. Then I'll lay there with my eyes closed as long as I can and try to just go over what I've seen. Because I notice as soon as you open your eyes and your eyes get the impact and start hearing sounds, you start to forget immediately once reality sets in. I try to hold it as long as I can. Yeah. But so I have pretty good dream recollection based on the process of not having to wake up to it. Like when you work or you have a regular job to where you have a routine, sometimes you're woken up by an alarm prompt or something like that. Or something that violently wakes you out of sleep, and it becomes almost impossible to remember dreams like that.
Yeah, if you violently wake up, that's because you're going back into your body, right, from that cord?
Yeah. Oh yeah, yup, you're jumping right back in. Like the body's back in.
DH says, peace at Kambata. During your travels, are there any memories which would give credence to an etheric realm in some realish?
Absolutely. I mean, that is the realm. This is the projection of that realm. That is when you're talking about. I mean, that's the ones and zeros of reality. This is the show. We are the show of the universe. I mean, like, this is about us. But it's almost happening in a like almost like a fishbowl, like a ant farm. Like it's being observed. It's almost like God training. It's like you have to go through you have to have this physical human cocoon process to lighten your spirit enough to become a light body. You know what I mean? The graduation process. And essentially your spirit will being back until you're able to with different changes every time. I think that's probably closer to what's happening.
It's Super Mario. You're on the level. If you don't get it, you're gonna have to go back and do that level all over again. Once you get to the pole, you raise your Kundalini, you pass that level. So we're on Earth level right now. Once we pass this, we transition into the next, I don't know, whatever it would be. Right?
I mean, what are the chances that you were picked to be born at the forefront of history? Why weren't you already born and dead? What are the chances that you happen to be alive at the newest point in history? Unless this isn't base reality and this is a loop, or you're lucky enough to be alive in the newest point in time, you get to see every new moment as it happens. Or this is a loop and you're always in this section. So in other words, like, every possible combination of molecular entanglement is already assumed mathematically, whether in the past or in the future. So if the algorithm of consciousness is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, you only need to count to 10 because you know it's eventually going to keep going. So all the possibilities that lead up to you being you there's so many things in this process that you, like, your spirit is connected to so many happenings. It's like every single person before you had to be born and do exactly what they did. They had to eat that fish, they had to die at that moment, they had to see this movie, they had to lose their virginity when they were 13, they had to get pregnant by this guy in order to get to you. So at that point, my consciousness is so unique that the possibility of me dying and then my spirit detaching with this signature and going into another body and another time and reincarnating into this guy. So I think what's supposed to happen is you die, and then so there's probably a really, really low probability that a killer priest will happen again, right? A very, very, it's like 0.00000000001% that a killer priest will happen again, even if this universe destroys itself, right? But time is infinite, so that possibility will happen, guaranteed. And then every time the universe restarts itself, you will happen again. However, you don't experience the time in between that. So even if it takes a trillion years for a Kambata to happen again, it will be a seamless transition from this waking life to that one. So it'll literally seem like I'm just dying and then coming back out of the womb again until I'm able to experience consciousness on a different time scale.
So reincarnation.
Yeah, well, at that point it would be evolution. Like, that would be ascension. Reincarnation is you coming back as you, and the loop is it's in Buddha. It's one of the oldest theories there is. It's the only one that makes sense mathematically. There's just, okay, maybe there's a random soul system to where you die, your spirit just kind of dissipates into the air, and then it's a roll of the dice, and then that's the end of you. So, like, but conscious, so then would you just replay this? Because the conscious observation of yourself does not happen with this body. You know what I mean? This body is the tool that you use to experience this, but obviously it's able to have internal vision and be able to disconnect. People in coma, where their bodies are completely dead, their souls are able to do something. But I don't think there's ever a point where you're just seeing black. Like, your consciousness, just like changing the channel, it would be like seamless transition to whatever the next experience is. That's why when you're a baby, there's that point to where you don't have language to define what you're seeing and saying. So there's that that's why you gotta forget at birth. If everybody remembered that this was a loop at birth, everybody would instantly go insane.
Yeah.
It would be like, oh my God, what the fuck?
It would be like Free Guy, like that movie Free Guy.
Yeah,
Have you seen that? It's on Netflix.
yeah. With that Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That's it, man. I mean, like, oh, bro. Like, yeah, this is. It's obvious.
Yo, at this time, we do a little tea ceremony break. So, you know, whatever you smoking on, whatever you drinking on, or whatever, enjoy it. And I want to send a shout out to. My mind is just. Mighty Hebrew is in the building. He said, shout out to you, Kambata. Word. He said you're definitely right. He's up in the craft room also. And keep building while we going. I'm gonna just go there. We're gonna do the tea ceremony, and that's for everybody to join us. That's in the craft room while we go on this crazy craft. I mean, this crazy flight. You know what I'm saying? We are in the psychedelic realm, and this is incredible because now we get to massage out a little bit of knots that we had up in that realm. You know what I'm saying? And kind of straighten it out, flat. Is that good for you, AD? Flatter, kind of flatten things out. You know what I'm saying? Those surfaces and getting those things, those hills and stuff like that, flatten out and straighten some of these things out. So, whatever you drinking, man, we do the music and continue building, brother. You going in, Kambata. This is great. Since you the guest, could you do a toast for us?
So it's toast and chairs, but we're not gonna call it a toast or chairs. We're gonna call it a throne. It's like a toast. They call it a toast because it pops out like a toaster. It goes up. But I would say let's raise our cups,
right?
In honor to a whole new reality.
Right.
We're looking at new times. I'm walking outside. People don't got no mask on, and people are enjoying their lives. To our youth, our health, our vitality. If you got your eyes open right now, you're lucky. You know. And for metaphysics, for free thought, for music. Everybody watching, raise your glasses and raise that toast, that cheers, those throws.
What you drinking, AD? All right, thank you,
I
bro.
got some still water.
Hey, we're gonna bring our soul too. Y'all finished building soon. No.
Yeah, what you was talking about, flat Earth? I love talking about flat Earth.
Yeah, he mentioned it.
Yeah, you can go there.
He likes to open the floodgates and see what happens.
The floodgates. There we go. Yeah, I wanted to see if I said we straightening things out. You like that word, flatten. All right. Yeah, we talk about that too. Word. Tell them I'll be right back.
Yeah.
Yeah, flat Earth, man. Like, this is such a it's one of the funnest things I've ever tried to wrap my head around. I mean, it's something that, as we've seen, is almost impossible to prove. I mean, nobody in real modern time has circumnavigated the Earth and has any proof of it. Also, all of the pictures from space that we see are digital, graphic illustrations, and basically they're assumptive. Also, math is just like a magician, a mathematician, are very witty. It's a clever mathematician can prove any theory, using math. If the possibility's there, there's a mathematical sequence to get you there and prove it to the nearest fractal. So you can come up with an equation to measure the distance to the sun. And until somebody more witty comes along that can disprove it, basically that stands. There was a time where scientific discovery was how you get your respect. Like, you got to think of a time before the Oscar nominations, before the Grammys, before the NBA and the NFL and all these things that we hold in high regard. There was men who would discover things. There was men who would conquer countries, invent things. And that's how you get your name on the walls. So whether something was absolutely true or not, as long as you couldn't disprove it, I'm gonna say, yo, I got that, man. I'm Einstein, man. Y'all, until y'all got something better, that's it. You know what I mean? Of course, like yeah, there's that ingrained bias, and then there's a possibility that they just associate a lot of these concepts with certain people, so that way they can patent it. You know what I mean? Like we can't prove that any of these inventors that say they invented things really invented these things. You know what I mean? Like a lot of the times it's when we're looking in history beyond 100, what is it? Cameras, photo cameras then coming into the mid 1800s. So prior to that, all we have is artist depictions and things written in books. So we really have no idea. Like all the research is our people reading other people's research. Very few people are actually going outside and experimenting and trying to figure these things out. And the people that do might not have the scientific explanation to back it up. So you got people that have the scientific explanation in the math, but they don't have the hands in the dirt. And you got the people that have the hands in the dirt, but they don't have the math and the science. So it's like you'll never really get to it. Like obviously, like to me, why don't you just take a drone, a solar powered drone, put some fucking nuclear energy into it with a 4K camera, put like the best like, you know, internal auto GPS so it can come back eventually, and set it beyond an Antarctica wall. Why don't we just unmanned ships? So obvious. Like, why don't they just go to the moon? They can easily just fly up a drone up there. Why do you have to have people in the ship? Like, that's such a waste. Go up there, put a camera up there, and then just take pictures of Earth. Have a live broadcast from Mars. So easy. No, all they do, NASA, they take $50 million a day. They go on their website, which looks like a WordPress website, and they post up digital pictures. And then how is it that all the astronauts are fat old people? Like why aren't these 5-star generals? You know what I mean? It makes no sense. So I'm just like,
Yeah.
when it comes to flat Earth or curved Earth, it's all speculation. It's all speculation. Which one do you want it to be? However, my theory is that it's both and neither. We're in a situation where this realm is like a GTA simulation. So is Earth in GTA round or flat? It's an ever rendering plane that gets coded as its experience. So the further out you go in this plane, it either becomes ice or sand. Like that's like, so when you go into like GPS and you go into the uncoded space and it just turns green or it's like a blue wall, that's it. I think that it's an ever rendering plane. It's a holographic plane of existence. We only have a solidified definition of this because it's hard, it's solid. So we can only define it with words by saying it's floating in space and it's either a circle or a flat plane. So if it, a sphere. So if it's a sphere, the problem with a sphere, and also the convenience of a sphere is that it's limited. So if it's a globe, why would you lie and say Earth is a globe? Why would you lie about that? Why if it's a globe, why would you lie about that? Well, because it makes Earth finite. So now you are under the belief that there's only 7 continents. So everything that's alien comes from space, those other planets. However, what if it is an ever-rendering plane? What if it's the floor of space? And if it's an ever-rendering plane, and beyond Antarctica, there's other continents. Like maybe these are the 7 continents that are under control of whatever's controlling us. And it's convenient for them to say, okay, it's a globe, it's a ball. Come up with a theory for that, because then people won't have curiosity to say, okay, what is the rest of this? It's okay if you're controlling travel. We only see in the planes. We don't. The pilots have specific details. They can't just go wandering off. Nobody has a plane sophisticated enough to really circumnavigate Earth. Nobody's taking that chance. Once you get further out enough, the Coast Guard coming for you, the Air Force coming for you. You can't do it. They won't allow you to do it. So maybe it's not a sphere, or maybe it is a sphere, but it's a much bigger sphere that they can't measure. Maybe it's so massive that you can't measure it. And they tell us it's a small ball because there is more continent. Maybe the extraterrestrial ships that you see, the UFO ships, are not coming from out there. They're coming from over there. An older civilization that comes over here, does their shit. Maybe they're trading, you know, whatever that is. But that could essentially be what that is. But whether it's round or flat or not, I mean, there's really strong arguments on both sides, mostly because we can't prove anything, and I'm not good enough at math to disprove anything.
Well said.
So, yeah, I think it's closer to an ever rendering holographic simulated plane, similar to what we're experiencing in video games. That's probably more so what this is, and our minds are forced to add the solidity, the objective shape to it. Like our minds force us to do it. Like we're always gonna experience it as flat because it's too massive for us to get the entirety of it. But also, when you're talking about something that's infinite, it's not a linear line. Everything curves, everything circles. All light, no matter, you can have a square-shaped flashlight, but from a distance, it still appears like a circle. So all light is spherical. So it's common sense to say that's why stars appear, you know, they're spherical. There's the moon. All of these light bodies are spherical. So Earth is a light body, it's spherical. But it's also flat because you'll never experience anything other than that. You'll never experience the curve. You'll never see it. It's probably so massive you can't. There's not a camera that can go out further enough to really see it. You'd have to put a camera on the sun. You know what I mean? Like for you to really even get it, because they're obviously not taking pictures. You see the satellites. I don't know what satellite. I don't know where they are. I've seen. Shouldn't there be billions of satellites in the sky? Why when you look for a telescope? I mean, maybe there's a couple. I've never seen. You know, I think that those rockets that they send up there, that's just a show, man. That's just them, like, giving us some proof on how this wasting money. They throw a rocket up there to show that so we could fucking make this go. It makes sense. Like, yo, let's convince them that we're researching space so we can get all the tax money. And all we have to show them is digital photos. And be like, oh, today we sent the rover up.
Say,
and then they show us
high,
images
man.
of Arizona. You know, like, fuck that.
We agree on that part. I mean, everything that NASA, somebody was telling me what NASA really means. It's a Hebrew word or something like that. I forgot what I was getting that from. Somebody was telling me about it, and it's like fake or whatever, or you know, whatever they do. But it's a family thing that goes on in the spheres. But they're gonna be quiet. It's gonna be quietness.
Yeah,
That's a subject matter. Yeah, that's a subject matter that on this show, because you got a lot of FEs. Fee come through. Fees, flat earthers, and they call everybody else globers, right?
Flat earthers, and you know the globers. How do they do it? The globers versus the flat earthers.
Yes, we have Rasul. Campin.
Oh, peace, Rasul.
Peace.
Rasul, bro.
Peace. How you doing, my brother?
Good, bro. Good, man. I'm going, bro. Like I'm just having so much fun.
Watch it. I'm
man.
having a bad day.
Great. Finally got you on the show.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that's man. I didn't even expect it, man. This is like, damn, dude.
You were requested. You know, a lot of people was always asking for you to come, and well, now you're here.
Yo, shout out to my supporters, man.
Watch it, buddy.
I'm always just beyond, like, I'm just speechless, man. People like what I do and what I say. You know, I'm not. I try to be as non-arrogant or like, you know, braggadocious about it, but people have said some things to me that just make me. I go home at night and I'm like,
You want some puto?
these people hold me, my mind and my art in real high regard, and they request me. It's like, and I know there's superstars out there that got millions of fans, but I mean, if you got 2 or 3, you can feel that love, and it's like these are people that don't even know you personally, but they relate to you in some kind of way, and the fact that I can come
Look
on
out,
here,
dude.
ramble with you guys.
Yeah.
I always say is what you put out, man. You put out that energy, and sometimes it comes back and resonates to you. It grows, it grows as you plant seeds. And then the listener, quickens the spirit, and then it becomes a body, and it'll come back and celebrate you because you put out that energy in the atmosphere in the first place. You know what I mean? So
Hey, you got a problem?
everybody work. When you're working, it never goes unseen or unheard. When it lands on the right person, it grows, man. And then that's how it grows into this family. You know what I'm saying? The celestial bodies of listeners. And we all tune in together, and we come and discuss the dialogue of, oh man, what do you mean by that? And it resonate with people. You never know, man. It definitely your work is definitely appreciated, and it's not going unheard and unseen. So it has to come back to source. You know what I mean? Well, so the source can continue generating that type of energy out there.
Indeed.
So eventually.
Priest.
Eventually, he was going to end up here anyway. At some point in time, as you go into the psychedelic realms, and that as seeing the future and being part of the future, you already know that you was a part of the craft before you even got here.
Oh yeah.
So
That's
you kind of predicted it.
Yeah, it's hyper strange. Everybody's trying to figure it out. I think if we knew, there would be no point of living. It is that infinite sense of curiosity that gives humans any sense of meaning, and it does keep the hamster wheel going. But at the same time, it's like you're on the hamster wheel, but the image that they're projecting keeps changing. There's so many infinite combinations that we're able to see here. So sometimes I'll go through it and I'm just like, I'll notice the repetition and the patterns, and synchronicity start getting scary, because once you start being able to pick up on the patterns of reality, you don't know if that's like an omen of death, or like what's going to happen, or damn, like is life that predictable? Is destiny so defined? And is fate already decided? Like, am I even in control? It's almost like I'm on a roller coaster ride, and they gave me a fake steering wheel with the perception of control, but really all I'm doing is sitting there and looking. You know what I mean? I'm looking through my eyes. I'm not beating my heart. I'm not breathing. I'm not doing most of the shit. Happens subconsciously. I'm only in control of like a couple functions. So it's like, damn, dude. Like, yeah, we there, but at the same time, there's a big difference between the man and me in my head and the one out here. Like I could see it, but being it is why we're here. It's a constant. That's why we get this time. That's why our immune systems keep rebuilding. That's why we get the same day over and over again. It's like, all right, we got to keep. Because even if you have one really good day, it's like, okay, how can I master myself and my surroundings to where I can repeat this, or at least get to a lukewarm state to where my reality there's not as much chaos, there's not as much unpredictability, so that way you can create, in your own head. But I would say, yeah, it's like, it gets to that point to where I notice it, I see it, and it gets a little redundant, and then I gotta shake myself out of it, because that's where depression starts.
Wow. So you, man, listen, you coming out of that, man, from the stuff that you've been writing. So you've been on a House of Conscious scene for a very long time. Like, yeah, I've heard you say that you met Lotus Lux when he was up at a debate or whatever. Yeah. The Hebrew brother. You got a song called Yahawashah.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah. Man, that was kind of crazy, man. Like I said, you play off of words and you just put them together. It's kind of dope. How long you been with the conscious community? Because I know we're about to do some really big things together, and hooking up, and hooking up with certain people. You know what I mean, and connections and stuff like that.
Yeah, I would say so. From doing psychedelics, I started, just watching videos online. YouTube. This is in the prime of YouTube conspiracy videos and documentaries. I'm talking about 2011, 2012, 2013. This is around when I first started experimenting with psychedelics. I didn't start smoking weed until my mid-20s, and around then is when I started getting the psychedelics. So I already had, you know, what I thought was a pretty good idea on what Earth was, and then I got violently shifted into another realm. So I immediately started studying. I never really, I had just, I guess, an innate, just a natural intelligence that I just used to make, but I never really took the initiative to study more until I got into psychedelics. I started off with just watching everything I could find on mental science, quantum science,